again from Warwick Bass Camp 2016. We are here with Mr. Neil Murray. Hello.
Hi.
You are a professor here.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very grand title. I'm a tutor, a teacher or something. I've done a bit of teaching, some master classes over the years, and in the last year in England at one of the music colleges, I do 1 day a week. And so I'm getting used to it, though perhaps I'm never used to trying to teach at 9 o'clock in the morning. It's not my favourite time. But no, it's a great event to be part of. It's really so well organised, and to get the chance to meet and sometimes play with people you know, never dreamed you'd have the chance to get to know. It's fantastic.
And you are teaching how to play a melody in a bass line in the rock music. Is it that hard?
Well, funnily enough, it's not something that a lot of bass players think about very much, because they kind of copy guitar riffs or they play bass riffs, and yes, there's some melody in them, but if you ask them to play a melody, something very simple, and the difficulty for me was to think, well, if there are a lot of German guys or people from different countries, what universal songs do they know? But for example, if you say to somebody, sing me or play me the Sound of Music, you know, from the film, or something similar like that, you know, that everybody knows. I mean, in England or America, you'd say, play Happy Birthday. And it's amazing that somebody can be a really good player, but suddenly they kind of get lost because they're not used to playing melodies. You know, it's not something that's a tune instead of just a backing thing, however funky or powerful or whatever it might be, or fast. You know, it's, you know, melodies are what most people in the world kind of respond to. And it's just a useful thing if you can do that, particularly without thinking about it. Like if I say to somebody, okay, play me this Christmas song that everybody knows, they should just go da 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 without even working it out or practicing it or something, because it's just very simple tune, not big jumping jazz type intervals or something like that. But it's not something that comes naturally to people. So what I mean for people to do is to sort of try playing stuff that's outside of their normal thing that they do, and then bring that in to their playing. So if they're going to compose a bass line, or they're jamming and they, you know, not just going to play eighth notes, do, then they have some more musical ideas in their head, you know, like a encyclopedia. Okay, this is my rhythmic drum fills, and this is my vocal lines, and this is my blues bending like a guitar player, and then, you know, it's lots more to take from and mix together also, you know.
And playing melodies on bass is somehow connected to writing music?
It should be, I suppose. I mean...
Because you have to come up with the melody.
Yes. I mean, in the sense that I'm talking about, in the sense that I do it or have had the chance to do it, because sometimes you don't have the opportunity, you just play something very simple or something that is prescribed, you know, it's obvious this is what you have to play, and there's no chance to put something of your own. But if there is, then mostly it's in a very simple way, where you're connecting one chord to another. If you're going from A to D, if you have enough time, there's millions of different ways of going that way, and that's what I do. Is I've made some backing tracks without bass on, and I go around the classroom, each person at a time, and they try different ideas, and they kind of listen to each other and oh, that's good, or don't like that, or, you know, and I give them some feedback, But it's just trying to say, okay, instead of playing the bass part from some track that you've learned that somebody else has come up with, just think of something yourself, and it doesn't have to be complicated. You know, some of the best things are really
simple.
Yeah, exactly. But also, the hardest thing, but sometimes the most rewarding thing, sometimes financially rewarding, is to do something simple that nobody else has done. You know, something new but simple is very, very difficult. But if you can do something that's catchy, you know what I mean, that is memorable to people, you know, particularly the general public, they don't know what it is, but it just stays in their mind, you know, because it's got a tune to it probably. It might be rhythmically interesting too, but you know, it's quite satisfying to play something that, you know, kind of is your idea, and you know, somebody else would have thought of something different.
But it requires creativity, and I guess
Well,
not
yes.
everyone is creative enough.
They should be. I mean, it's often removed from us by education, growing up and work and stuff. But I also tell them to steal from everywhere. You know, take this melody from this guitar solo, take a drum fill that you copy what the guy's doing, steal from this vocal part. You know, just be open to listening to things outside of bass. But not just listen to it, but also try to play it. That's what I mean. So there would be times when I was learning that I would be trying to be Eric Clapton, you know, on the bass, and failing. But then I could bring some techniques like bending strings and vibrato and kind of blues feel, you know, sort of not everything just this note, that note, that note, but a bit more kind of vocal type expression. So, and if you wanted to be very expressive on the bass, then you should try and be a vocalist. I mean, if you were able to copy Aretha Franklin on your bass parts, even just to try to get that kind of emotional expression and slight bending and little vibrato is really tricky, but it's not a very obvious thing to do. And I'm not saying that you would do that all the time, but you would. It's another thing on the list of possibilities and the things that you can do. And you know, you might copy some amazing drum part and transpose it onto the bass, and you know, slapping 1,000 kilometers an hour, you know. But because it's started as a drum part, it's might be different from what a typical bass slapping thing was. So it's not, you know, very few people are geniuses where they're incredibly creative direct from themselves. I mean, you know, and I know that I'm not, but I have borrowed from many, many people, and if you try to borrow from the best people, then, you know, hopefully it raises your standard. And also you should try and play in situations where you're playing with people that are better than you, because you get their knowledge and their ability sort of lifts you up. And if you play with people who are not very good, they pull you down. I can play really badly if I'm playing in a bad situation, but if I'm playing with fantastic guys, suddenly, oh yeah, that's easy, I can do that, you know. It's just somehow it, you know.
Because the music comes from a lot of different instruments, not just from this one bass guitar.
Yes, absolutely. And you should be, excuse me, you should have enough technique that you're not kind of so concentrated on what you're doing.
Just go with the flow.
That you should be able to play, but also be listening to everybody else. If suddenly, let's say a drummer suddenly puts in a different fill, then you go, wow, that's great, and you react to it instantly, and you play along with it or try to keep in sync with what he's doing to make it even more powerful. And that's very satisfying if you can do it, because it's like instant composition. But you know, they're kind of starting it off, but you're keeping up with them, you know, that kind of thing. Or if a guitarist plays some lick and you go, yeah, that's do-do-do-do-do. Because you can hear it, and in my case, I can kind of see it in my head. I'm looking at a mental picture of a bass fingerboard. So if somebody plays a minor third, I kind of see it in a sort of a picture. Okay, that's where that is, and then he goes to this fret, and then he's going to that. You know, it's, and particularly when I'm playing, you know, and I'm referring to where I'm playing, what I'm playing at the moment, I know where to jump to. In some cases, I'm not saying all the time, but it's very useful in terms of this looking for melodies. That I know lots of good musicians who they kind of have to work to, oh, what is that tune? Where do I have to play it? Where I'm kind of have played melodies enough that if I hear something, it's like, okay, that starts on the fifth and it goes to the minor seventh and but I'm not taking that long to do it. I'm just going, oh, I can see it in a way. And I just think it's a useful thing to have. You know, I'm quite giving people ideas of, you know, why don't you try this method? And other teachers will have their methods, and some of them are much more scholarly and much more based in proper music theory. But, you know, something that I think is quite easy, but maybe it's taken me years and years to actually get to that point. If I play over some very simple chord sequence like these backing tracks I've done, you know, it seems fairly easy to me to come up with lots of different possibilities, but I realise that for the students, they find it pretty hard because I'm telling them, okay, now compose something, but I don't think of it that way, but I guess that's what they feel. It's like, and I'm saying, don't play a bass solo. Well, I'm not saying, you know, I'm trying to make a musical bass line. See what I mean? Yeah. And the people who were creative and, you know, the top guys in rock in the late 60s, early 70s, whatever. I mean, Paul McCartney, or Chris Squire, or John Entwistle, you know, many, Jack Bruce, so many more. They had the freedom to do that, but also it was kind of more the fashion to be creative, and it was expected for you to be a creative bass player, and now it's not quite so much, or it's changed. Now people are much more competent, they have much more skills and much more wide range, like, oh yeah, I play upright, I slap, I play 5-string, I play, you know, all sorts of different things, and it's kind of expected. But sometimes that's kind of being a very good craftsman rather than being an artist. So I think you have to have both. Sorry?
They're lacking some imagination.
Well, but yes, possibly, but also it depends on the music business at the time, and nowadays it's not encouraged to be very creative and imaginative. I mean, because it's such a big big money-making situation, a lot of mainstream music is, oh, that's popular, let's copy that. And the next person, oh, that was popular, let's copy that. And it all sounds the same. And a lot of rock music, to me, that's listenable, I don't mean really heavy stuff, which is not my scene at all, but, you know, fairly regular hard rock sounds so much like what I heard in the 60s and the 70s. it's played by newer, younger guys, and it's listened to by younger people, but it's not new, it's just kind of revamped.
Copy.
Yeah, but I mean, I can't tell some 16-year-old kid, you know, yeah, this is just like that. It's, you know, for him it's fresh, and that's great. I mean, you know, people are enthusiastic, but as far as something new that's really turns me on, that's hard to find, I have to say. But then, you know, maybe I'm too old.
So the most important lesson is that the technique and technical abilities are important, okay, but the most important thing in playing bass is thinking.
Is it? I don't know. I mean, but it's hard to generalize, because I tell people that having great time and a great tone and being a nice person are probably the three important things, and then there's a few more.
One last question, because we are talking about playing bass and so on, but you started as a drummer. When did you become a bass player?
Well, I started as a piano player, or I had
Oh.
piano lessons from 8 until 13, and then it was very stupid of me to give up, but I found it kind of boring, or the teaching wasn't very good. And also, I must be honest and say I had a pretty good ear for picking things up, so I wasn't really reading the music as much as I should be. So it would have helped if I was not such a good, you know, at playing by ear, because then my reading would be better. And then after piano, from 13 to 17, I was playing trombone. But from age 11 or 12, I was playing drums, but not being taught drums. And it was just really simple, you know, 60s pop, you know, just...
Can you play something on drums right now?
Oh, hardly.
Some simple beat maybe or something?
Very simple, but it wouldn't sound any good at all. But, I mean, I tune in to drums. I listen to drums and I, you know, enjoy fantastic drumming. I really get off on it. So I was quite late to start playing the bass. And even then it was because somebody at my school, I don't know how they did it, but they converted a guitar to be a bass. And I always thought, if I wasn't playing drums, yeah, bass would kind of be suitable. But when I got this thing, I thought, oh, yeah, this is lots of fun. And I spent lots of time doing that. And then I went to college to study to be a designer. But all through that college time, I was playing more and more bass and doing less and less design. And I never did it as a career after that. But compared to some people, they maybe left school at 15 and they immediately became a professional musician. Whereas for me, I was learning in my bedroom with headphones like people do now, I guess, with YouTube and everything. So I was good in a way, but I had no experience. So there was an imbalance, whereas some other people, the guys who had gone into music as a career early, their experience was much better and they were much more comfortable being on stage in front of people, which I wasn't. But they had stopped learning. That was the interesting thing. They kind of got there playing to a certain level
And stayed.
and kind of stayed, and whereas I'd practice and practice and practice, and you know, I kind of my I don't know, ability in some respects was pretty good, but I was lacking in other areas.
Not for long.
Well, it took me. I mean, I'm not a natural extrovert, so to feel comfortable on stage, yeah, it took a few years, I think.
But it turns out very good.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to meet you here on Warwick Bass Camp 2016.
Thank you.
Thank you.